The Handbook Rebellion. As an office manager, I was tasked with enforcing the new policy, follow the handbook to the letter. So when my team complained about a tedious process, I told them we'd be having mandatory handbook time during work hours. Little did they know, I had a plan. I spent the previous night poring over the handbook, highlighting key sections, and making notes on how to present them in an engaging way. My goal was to make the experience as painful as possible without being too obvious. The next day, we gathered around the conference table, handbooks in hand. I announced that from now on, all work would pause for 30 minutes every hour to review the handbook. The team groaned, but followed my lead. As we began our first session, I noticed one of my team members, Sarah, glancing at her watch. She was clearly counting down the minutes until she could get back to work. I made a mental note to keep an eye on her. We spent the first hour discussing the dress code and vacation policies. By lunchtime, they were already bored out of their minds. In the afternoon, we tackled the employee assistance program and safety procedures. As the day wore on, I could see the frustration building in my team's eyes. They were used to working independently, and now they felt like cogs in a machine. But they followed the handbook diligently, as instructed. At one point, John spoke up. "Can we just get through this already? We have real work to do." I smiled and said, "Patience, my friends. This is an investment in our future." As the hours dragged on, the team's morale began to sink. But I refused to give in. I kept pushing them to review every section, every policy, and every procedure. Finally, as the clock struck 5 p.m., I announced that we had completed our mandatory handbook time for the day. The team erupted into cheers and applause. They were relieved to be free from the monotony of handbook time, but also a bit disappointed that they hadn't been able to complete their actual work. As we packed up our things and headed home, I could sense a mix of emotions. Some were relieved, while others were still frustrated. But I knew that this was just the beginning. The next day, I called a team meeting and revealed my true intentions, to show them how tedious following the handbook could be. I apologized for wasting their time and promised to never do it again. From then on, they approached the handbook with newfound respect and used it as a resource rather than a set of rules to follow blindly. As we wrapped up our meeting, Sarah spoke up. "You know, I have to admit, that was a pretty clever move." I smiled and said, "Thanks, Sarah. Sometimes you need to shake things up a bit." So, what did we learn? Sometimes a little malicious compliance can lead to a healthier work environment. Comment your thoughts below.